Does anyone remember Anders Breivik? I've got a documentary on it here I can film. I can put on. I'll sit up. Have a sit up. Over. I tell you what. If I sit over.
People sipped coffee. Monsters don't appear in mirrors. They hide in the ordinary. That idea, unsettling as it is, explains what made July 22nd, 2011 so terrifying. It was a normal day. In Oslo, people sipped coffee, wrapped up their week. On Utøya, teenagers joked, argued about politics, and believed they were building a better future. But behind that calm, one man was already in motion, methodical, convinced, and ready to act. By nightfall, 77 lives would be lost in the deadliest attack Norway had seen since World War II. This is the story of how ideology becomes identity, how violence begins long before the first shot, and how a nation was forced to look inward, not just at what happened, but at why.
It happened a long time ago, this, but I was still living in my mother's old house. In fact, she was still alive when this happened. But whether she knew about it, I don't know. I don't know if she was taking much of an interest in what was going on in the world, because she'd only recently had a stroke. Which let's watch a bit more of it.
No one saw it coming. Welcome back to Bad People. But before we go into the story, we would like to extend our deepest condolences to all the victims of this horrifying crime and to the entire country of Norway. It all started around 3:25 p.m. on that fateful Friday of July. Oslo's government quarter was winding down for the weekend. Civil servants had to depart.
Hi, Francis Foss.
60 seconds, their world would explode.
Do you remember this?
A massive car bomb detonated at precisely 3:26
Hi, Tina Holland.
Prime Minister's office complex, its shockwave ripping through the heart of Norway's political establishment. The explosive device was meticulously constructed using ammonium nitrate fertilizer combined with fuel.
I'm fine, thanks.
The same deadly mixture used in the 1995
How are you?
Oklahoma City bombing. Weighing nearly a metric ton, the bombs forced shattered windows across multiple city blocks, sending glass shards flying like deadly projectiles. 8 people perished instantly in the blast, while dozens more suffered horrific injuries. Remarkably, the death toll might have been far higher had the attack not occurred during Norway's common holiday period in late July, when many government offices were sparsely staffed. Survivors described the surreal moments after detonation. The explosion threw me across my office, recalled one government worker. When I got up, all the windows were gone, and there was this eerie silence before the screaming started.
It was a big air pressure through the tunnel.
Prime Minister Jens Stoltenberg, whose office was severely damaged, escaped unharmed. As emergency crews rushed to the scene, authorities initially suspected international terrorism. But the real horror was still unfolding just 40 kilometers away, where a man dressed as a police officer was boarding a ferry to Utøya Island. The Labour Party youth camp on Utøya Island had been a summer tradition for decades, a place where politically engaged teens gathered to debate and socialize. That afternoon, about 600 young people were on the island when news of the Oslo bombing reached them. Many were discussing the attack when they spotted what appeared to be a police officer arriving by ferry around 5 p.m. Anders Breivek, dressed in a convincing police uniform, calmly told camp staff he needed to conduct a security check related to the Oslo explosion. This ruse gave him unrestricted access, At precisely 5:26 p.m., the first gunshots rang out. What followed was a meticulously...
Well, but the question I'm asking here is, does anyone actually remember taking place, this terrorist attack by this Anders Breivik? Breivik? This is just this is a documentary, a sort of a short documentary. No, you don't remember it. But someone's put the goat here. I know it was a long time ago. I mean, it was 2011. It's 2025 now. I mean, these things happen. In this day and age, these things are going on all the time somewhere in the world, aren't they? And the things that are as old as this are pretty much forgotten about. Really, they're just in the past, aren't they? But he killed 77 people. Let's see what it says in the description. I'll read what it says in the description. Monsters don't appear in mirrors, they hide in the ordinary. Oh, you were born in 2016, so you want... on July 22nd, 2011, Norway faced its darkest days since World War II. What began as a quiet summer afternoon, it spoken into a chilling sequence of coordinated attacks. First, a massive bomb rocked Oslo's government quarter. Then a disguised man opened fire at a youth camp on Utoya Island. This documentary-style breakdown dives deep into the events of the Oslo bombing, the massacre on Utoya Island, the twisted mind of Anders Breivik, harrowing survivor accounts, Norway's powerful response and national healing. This isn't just about violence, it's about ideology, silence and the resilience of a nation that chose openness over vengeance. Viewer discretion is advised. Subscribe for most true stories that matter. Let's have a look at the timestamp. Opening line, monsters in the ordinary. 4 minutes past, 1 minute 4 seconds, the Oslo bombing, 3:26 p.m. The 3 minutes and 5 seconds, but Breivik boards the ferry. 4 minutes and 11 seconds, Utoya massacre begins. 6 minutes and 8 seconds, survivor testimonies, Lisa Adrian Viljar. 8 minutes 5 seconds, Breivik's radicalisation manifesto. 10 minutes 2 seconds, the courtroom and prison updates 2024. 11 minutes and 37 seconds, Norway's reform and memorials. 12 minutes 48 seconds, closing questions and reflections. What this video covers. Detailed timeline of the Oslo bombing and Utoya shooting. Inside the mind of Anders Breivik, what turned him extremist. Testimonies from survivors who lived through horror. Norway's courtroom decisions and Breivik's life in prison. How the country responded with strength and not fear. Memorials, reforms and national healing. Questions about ideology, warning signs and resilience. Why this video is a must-watch. This is more than just a true crime story. It's a haunting reminder that evil doesn't always come cloaked in shadows. It can wear a uniform and walk beside us. July 22nd peels back the layers of one of the most horrific attacks in modern Europe to show how ideology festers, how violence is often preceded by silence, and how a country can choose humanity in the face of hate. You won't just remember the facts, you'll feel the weight of the aftermath and the strength of those who survived. If this story left an impact, don't scroll past. Like, comment your thoughts and subscribe for more documentaries that reveal the truth behind the headlines. Share this to others and survivors. Let their voices echo beyond borders. Let's watch a bit more of it now.
planned massacre lasting exactly 72 minutes. Armed with a Ruger Mini 14 semi-automatic rifle and Glock pistol, Breivik moved methodically across the small wooded island. He used his police disguise to lure victims, calling out that he was there to help before opening fire. Many campers fled into the surrounding forest or jumped into the freezing lake waters. Others hid wherever they could, in tents, under docks, or like 17-year-old Lisa Marie Husby and 46 others, barricaded inside a cafeteria freezer. The gunshots kept getting closer, Lisa recalled years later, her voice still trembling. We heard him trying the door handle. Then 2 bullets came through the window. I'll never forget the sound of his boots circling our hiding place. The youngest victim was just 14 years old. The majority were teenagers with their whole lives ahead of them. It took us over an hour to reach the island due to transportation delays.
How long ago this was? I wasn't even on. I didn't even have. I wasn't even on YouTube when this happened. It was a long, long time ago. I was on Facebook because I went on Facebook at picking up book in October 2010, but I wasn't. I wasn't on the. I wasn't on YouTube. I'm talking about Anders Breivik, the Norwegian terrorist. Does anyone remember his shooting spree that he? I'll read the description for you again. On July 22nd, 2011, Norway faced its darkest day since World War II. What began as a quiet summer afternoon exploded into a chilling consequence of coordinated attacks. First, a massive bomb rocked Oslo's government quarter, then a disguised man opened fire at a youth camp on Utøya Island.
When they finally arrived at 6:25 p.m., they found Breivik waiting calmly near the shore, having killed 69 people in one of the worst mass shootings by a single perpetrator in history. Yet, he surrendered without any resistance. The combined death toll from Oslo and Utøya would ultimately reach 77, Norway's darkest day since World War II.
Yeah, he's a Norwegian terrorist. I explained to you where he was. He was a Norwegian terrorist. He killed 77 people. If this is on a channel called Bad People. If you can find the video yourself, Norway's worst criminal, Anders Breivik. You can see for yourself what the events were.
The face that would become Norway's most hated stared blankly into the mugshot camera. Pale skin, close cropped hair, and cold, empty eyes. Anders Breivik was no stereotypical criminal. The 32-year-old Norwegian came from a comfortable Oslo upbringing in an affluent neighborhood, raised mostly by his mother after his parents' early divorce, with a childhood marked by emotional detachment and early brushes with authorities, including a vandalism arrest at 16. Yet beneath this ordinary exterior brewed a dangerous transformation that began quietly in 2002 and culminated in unimaginable violence 9 years later. Experts would later trace his descent into extremism through his computer activity. Thousands of hours spent consuming anti-Islamic propaganda, far-right conspiracy theories, and white nationalist literature. By 2009, he had begun compiling his monstrous 1,518-page manifesto called 2083, a European Declaration of Independence, a disturbing collage plagiarized from various extremist sources mixed with his own paranoid fantasies. The document's very production revealed his meticulous nature, written in English to reach a global audience, formatted professionally, and released digitally just hours before his attacks. Breivik's preparations showed military-like precision. He obtained a firearms license legally, joining a pistol club to hone his marksmanship. To avoid suspicion, while purchasing 6 tons of fertilizer, enough to yield 950 kilos of explosives, he registered a fake agricultural business. He conducted reconnaissance missions to government buildings, even calculating blast radius. The final piece was his police uniform, not a costume, but an authentic-looking outfit, complete with insignia, purchased legally and altered for his purposes. Every detail served his warped vision of sparking a nationalist revolution through spectacular violence. Forensic psychologists who later analyzed Breivik reached a unanimous conclusion. As one expert starkly put it, this wasn't madness, it was calculated ideological terrorism. His meticulous preparations, coherent writings, and calm demeanor during the attacks revealed a man fully in control of his actions.
Right, being as my viewing figures are starting to explain to everybody what this live Q&A discussion is about. It's about Anders Breivik, the Norwegian terror. Well, I'm not sure he was Norwegian, but he committed an act of atrocity in Norway, and it was in the summer of 2011, a long time ago. Hi. Hi, Swenson. So, I don't know if anyone actually remembers this event, but I know I certainly do. But I wasn't actually on a member of YouTube at the time. I didn't have a YouTube channel at the time. It was hi Ellie Griffiths. How are you? Hi. Yeah, I don't do too badly with this channel, do I? With the I look like your dad. Let's watch a bit more of this.
For those who lived through the horror, July 22nd marked not an ending, but the beginning of a lifelong journey. Lisa was just 17 when she hid in that Utoya cafeteria freezer, listening to her friends die. At 18, she received a PTSD diagnosis that put words to the nightmares keeping her awake. A year of intensive therapy followed, confronting trauma that most adults never experience, let alone teenagers. Today, she channels that pain into purpose as a mental health advocate, helping others navigate their own dark paths toward healing. Each survivor carries their own story of resilience. Adrian, then 23, took a bullet but still managed to swim 45 freezing minutes to safety, his blood mixing with the lake water. Vilja, only 17 at the time, survived 5 surgeries to remove shotgun pellets from his brain, relearning basic functions through months of rehabilitation. The physical wounds eventually healed, but the psychological scars remain, invisible reminders that resurface during loud noises, crowded places, or the simple act of boarding a ferry. Yet from this shared trauma emerged extraordinary strength, graduations achieved against all odds, weddings celebrated with bittersweet joy, careers dedicated to public service and activism. Where Breivik sought to destroy Norway's future, these survivors have rebuilt it stronger, founding organizations, shaping policies, and ensuring their experiences protect others. "13 years after his killing spree, Anders Breivik remains Norway's most notorious prisoner. Since his arrest without resistance, the media frenzy and courtroom drama exposed not only his brutal acts, but the deep ideological motives behind them. At his 2012 trial, Breivik openly defended his actions as a necessary crusade against multiculturalism and immigration, targeting Norway's Labour Party as the enemy. The trial would confirm this assessment, with judges rejecting insanity claims and sentencing him to 21 years of preventive detention. In his 2024 parole hearing, Breivik doubled down on these beliefs, calling his massacre necessary and praising Vladimir Putin as the foremost defender of Europeans, now marked by a shaved head and a prominent Zig symbol supporting Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The court rejected his parole, warning he still poses an absolutely concrete risk of repeat violence. Behind bars, Breivik continues writing extremist manifestos, his ideology growing more convoluted, yet no less dangerous. Prison authorities have intercepted letters attempting to radicalize others. Survivors like Viljar Hansen, who endured 5 brain surgeries after being shot at point-blank range, observe these developments with grim resolve. His ideology failed, Hansen reflects. While he sits frozen in hate, our memorials celebrate how life prevails. The steel columns on Utoya now shimmer in sunlight where gunfire once rang out, silent witnesses to resilience triumphing over terror. In the aftermath of the attacks, Norway faced a defining choice: how to respond to unprecedented violence targeting its democratic institutions. Prime Minister Jens Stoltenberg set the tone at the National Memorial Service, declaring, "Our response is more democracy, more openness." This philosophy guided concrete reforms as the nation rebuilt. Police emergency protocols underwent complete restructuring to prevent the critical delays that hampered the Utoya response. New rapid deployment systems ensured armed officers could reach any crisis point within minutes. Parliament strengthened hate speech legislation while carefully balancing free expression protections. On Utoya Island, where 69 young lives were stolen, a powerful memorial now stands. 69 steel columns rising from the landscape, each bearing a victim's name. The government also established comprehensive support programs for survivors and victims' families. The terror of that day didn't end with the gunfire. It echoed in the questions left behind. How could such hatred grow unnoticed? How close are we to danger when it wears an ordinary face? What does the face of terrorism look like? Norway chose reflection over rage. Survivors became voices of strength. Their hope acquired legacy. What do you think drives someone to commit such horror in the name of ideology? Share your thoughts below. And if this story stayed...
Still using a bank to send money overseas? That's a bold move. Wires could save you up to 75% compared to using a major bank.
2:47 a.m. The doors of Dubai's most exclusive penthouse explode open. Police in tactical gear swarm a bedroom where a man sleeps surrounded by designer bags stuffed with cash. His phone still glows with notifications. Eyes groggy, head spinning, with 2.5 million followers watching, as Ramon Abbas, the self-proclaimed billionaire Gucci master, becomes inmate.
Go to channel, right. I'm talking about let's find a bit more information on Anders Breivik.
July 2011, Norway.
Let's
2nd of July 2011, Norway. A Scandinavian country admired for its landscape, high living standards, and for having one of the lowest murder rates in the world. In the capital city of Oslo, the day had begun like any other.
Right. Let's read the description and check that you're supposed to copy the video. Right, let's have a read of what it says here in the description. On the 22nd of July 2011, Norway would be struck by an unprecedented double attack. The brainchild of one just man, Anders Breivek, has spent years meticulously planning for his killing spree. Diagnosed at a young age as having psychological problems. A strain of his troubled family life will begin to show as he reached adulthood. The formerly well-regarded Breivik will retreat from all social life and retreat into the world of online gaming and extreme politics. He became obsessed with the notion that Islam was a threat to Norway, and so Breivik planned to strike out at those he held responsible. This film was first broadcast. Our Life brings you fascinating stories of social interest from around the world. You can discover award-winning documentaries, films and groundbreaking reports that capture the complexities of our daily life with stories that will entertain, inspire and inform. Content distributed by IT. So I don't think I'm breaking any copyright laws or anything, but
22nd of July.
well, watch this.
In the middle of the main holiday in Norway, and of course the weather was pretty bad, as it always is. But it's still summer, so most of the people were actually at holiday. Pretty normal summer's day in Norway, actually.
We were in the office, and it was quite a busy Friday. We were all looking forward to the weekend.
At 3:18 p.m., a white van is captured on CCTV, parking next to Norway's government headquarters. Its driver is 32-year-old Anders Breivek, and cameras record him leaving the scene, armed and dressed in police-style uniform. Minutes later, at 3:26 p.m., the country would be changed forever as the world's worst killing spree began.
Og det var meldt om masse regn, og hørte jo da et voldsomt drønn. Jeg begynte å lure på om det kunne være tordenvær som hadde satt inn, men det var det ikke. Jeg hørte det var en veldig spesiell snert, et tungt drønn.
Joachim Ringstad, a local shop owner, would feel the ferocity of the explosion firsthand.
I remember just being in the office and suddenly there was just like a pressure wave, big pressure wave that just kind of felt like it just blew through the whole building. There was debris and dust everywhere in the air. I thought the building would come down as well.
Local businessman Johan Tanberg would be one of the first on the scene to witness the unfolding fallout.
When the bomb exploded, I was underneath this building here in my car, driving. Actually, I was on my way home. I had to lay down on the floor in my car. I thought the ceiling was coming down. I was scared. There was a big air pressure through the tunnel. My car stopped actually. I started it again and I drove out from the tunnel. Immediately when I got out from the tunnel, I saw this disaster that had occurred outside. I started to feel maybe sicker.
Right, we've watched a bit of that now. The question I'm asking here is: Does anyone remember this terrorist attack that was perpetrated by Anders? What was his name? Anders Breivik. I never get a great deal of audience participation with these. I don't get as much audience participation and as much But you can't. Then again, you can't make people take part in discussions, can you? I mean, there's only two people watching right now, and it's like you say, they probably can't remember this. I mean, they might be too young to remember it because it was. I mean, how many years ago was it? It was 14 years ago. Let's watch a bit more of it, eh?
The massive deadly blast, killing 8, transformed Oslo from tranquil to terrifying.
I thought it was a truck that ran into the building or an earthquake. Everybody around me just froze. I didn't know what to do. And I just ran out to see what was going on. And then when I got to the door, the second I got out, I saw glass falling down from the sky, so I couldn't run out.
I saw people on the street, people were laying on the street. It was very quiet, I can remember. It was totally silent. Only thing I can hear was the alarm inside the buildings, the fire alarms.
With authorities beginning to arrive, the scale of the task facing them quickly became apparent.
Jeg kom inn i området bare noen minutter etter eksplosjonen. Da var det fortsatt masse røyk i området, støv fra eksplosjonen. Det var røyk fra flammer. Det var store ødeleggelser på stedet. Det var døde, hardt skadde.
The blast, you could hear it all over Oslo. Up to 70, 80 kilometers away from this spot, people could hear the bomb went off.
We could feel it even where I was living.
I tell you
So
what.
I went outside and I looked toward the center of the town and there was smoke coming up.
I wonder if I could get a bit of information off my iPhone about it that I can. Right. Let's get a bit of information off. And Anders Breivek, born 13th of February 1979, officially for blah blah blah, and formally blah blah, is a Norwegian neo-Nazi terrorist and mass murderer. He carried out the 2011 Norway attacks in which he killed 8 people by detonating a van bomb at blah 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 blah, blah in Oslo, and then killed 69 participants of a workers' youth league AUF summer camp in a mass shooting on the island of Utøya. His motive was far-right extremism, white supremacy, Islamophobia, anti-immigration, belief in white genocide conspiracy theory. His convictions were murder, 77 counts, terrorism and causing a fatal explosion. His penalty was 21 years preventive detention. After Breivik was found psychologically competent to stand trial, his criminal trial was held in 2012. That year, Breivik was found guilty of mass murder, causing a fatal explosion, and terrorism. Breivik was sentenced to the maximum civilian criminal penalty in Norway, which is 21 years imprisonment through preventive detention, allowing the possibility of one or more extensions for as long as he is deemed a danger to society. At the age of 16 in 1995, Breivik was arrested for spraying graffiti on walls. He was not chosen for conscription into the Norwegian Armed Forces. At the age of 20, he joined the Anti-Immigration Progress Party and chaired the local Vest Oslo branch of the party's youth organisation in 2002. He joined a gun club in 2005. He left the Progress Party in 2006. A company he founded was later declared bankrupt. He had no declared income in 2009 and his assets were 390,000 kroner, equivalent to $72,000, according to Norwegian tax authority figures. He financed the terror attacks with $130,000 using 9 credit cards. On the day of the attacks, Breivik emailed a compendium of text entitled 2083, a European Declaration of Independence, describing his militant ideology. In them, he stated his opposition to Islam and blamed feminism for a European cultural suicide. The text called for the deportation of all Muslims from Europe, and Breivik wrote that his main motive for the attacks was to publicise his manifesto. In it, he cites a quotation attributed to Napoleon: "He who saves his country violates no law," as justification for the attacks. 2 teams of court-appointed forensic psychiatrists examined Breivik before his trial. His first team diagnosed Breivik with paranoid schizophrenia, but after this initial finding was criticised, a second evaluation concluded that he was not psychotic during the attacks, but did have narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. In prison, Breivik became a supporter of Donald Trump and Russia under Vladimir Putin. In 2016, Breivik won a partial victory in the lower court. However, the case was lost an appeal in the higher court. Other than that, Breivik has repeatedly but unsuccessfully sued the Norwegian Correctional Service and appealed to the European Convention on Human Rights over solitary confinement and refusal of parole, which Breivik claims violated his human rights. Well, the thing is, whose human rights did he violate? He violated the human rights of 77 people by killing them. So, well, what sympathy does he deserve? In December 2024, a 5-day trial took place in the Court of Appeals as Breivik sued the government of Norway for violating his human rights by keeping him in prison isolation. He sounds like a proper nutter to me. Let's watch a bit more of this.
Where a government building now? First thing I thought was Norway was under attack. One building I went into had some people out. One building was so damaged, so I couldn't go into it. It was vacation, it was summer, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Most of the people were not at work, thank God. So most of the offices were empty. The doors, the walls, everything was smashed in. So you couldn't see that it has been an office. People were really scared in town.
For more bombs or for who did it?
The white van parked outside the government buildings had been packed with almost a ton of fertilizer-based explosives. Its detonation had left 8 dead and more than 80 injured.
We all had this sensation of that an act of war was really taking place, and we were wondering who did this, who is behind this, where did the hatred come from?
At 3:26 p.m., the 22nd of July 2011, Norway's capital city of Oslo had been devastated by a massive car bomb. It was a day that Anders Breivek had been preparing for months, and the bombing was merely the beginning of his killing spree. The 13th of February 1979, Oslo. Anders Breivek is born to a diplomat and a nurse. His childhood was marked by the divorce of his parents and worrying behavior that would draw the attention of the authorities at a very young age.
He was under observation by a child psychiatrist when he was at the age of 3 or 4 years old, and they all gave him a quite serious diagnosis that he was already different psychiatric setup than normal kids.
At the age of 4, Breivik was assessed by psychologists because they became quite about the home life his mother was bringing him up in. They thought that he'd been sexualized in some way and that his mother was projecting her own ideas onto him that weren't appropriate for a 4-year-old boy.
The family unit would quickly begin to dissolve, leaving Anders in the care of his increasingly unstable mother and isolated from his father.
I think Breivik's father is present mostly in the form of his absence. He was not there for Breivik.
He certainly didn't have much of a family to live with. I would say he was of a neurotic background. He was an individual who was prone to outbursts or dramatic scenes and shows of largesse.
As the dust began to settle in Oslo's city centre, the investigation had begun into who could be behind the atrocity.
Jeg fikk mange meldinger om bombelignende gjenstander. Det kom inn mange meldinger om eksplosjoner, og det kom mange meldinger om mistenkelighet.
Until he came to the nearby lake of Tyrifjord.
With confusion and tensions mounting across the country, Breivik would begin to execute the second stage of his plan. The island of Utøya was hosting a summer camp of young Labour Party activists, and Breivik was headed straight for them.
And he parked his car on the ferry crossings over to Utøya, and he presented himself as security police officers there to instruct them about security measures that needed to be taken in light of the explosion that had just happened in Oslo. And they sent the ferry over to collect him.
What would come next would be an act so sinister it would strip a generation of its innocence. Located 50 minutes outside Oslo, the picturesque island of Utøya is famed for its outstanding natural beauty.
Utøya is actually like old Norway, just placed within a couple of 1,000 square feet.
Playing host to the annual summer camp for the youth division of the Labour Party, Utøya seemed a perfectly formed paradise.
From here, it looks like a heart just dropped into the ocean.
Every year, we've been using the island for a big summer camp where we gather maybe 700 youth one week in July.
I cannot explain it in any other way but a perfect summer camp.
But this island idyll would soon be transformed into a nightmarish vision of violence by Anders Breivek.
People were playing football, volleyball, everything was just normal, perfect. Suddenly, the one who was running the island, we called her Mother Virtual, comes in with a look on her face that I've never seen before on anyone, and she said, something has exploded in Oslo.
Of course, we were shocked, but and we saw pictures, and it was like seeing scenes from a city in the war.
It was like someone switched the light off and took the breath out of everybody's lungs. It was no joy anymore. I remember walking up here, and my mother called me. She was worried something happened to me, and I said, no, nothing happened. I'm on Utøya. I wasn't in Oslo, and she should be just calm because I'm probably at the safest place in Norway right now.
No one could have imagined that the man behind the bombing in Oslo had his sights set on the island of Utøya. Anders Breivik's position as an outsider had been defined at an early age.
Breivik grew up in a very affluent part of town, but he had a single mother and an address which was not kind of on par with his classmates, and I think he felt rejected.
Aged just 14, he had sought acceptance by joining a nationalist gang, but his natural demeanour set him apart from the other gang members.
As I remember meeting this guy, he's probably on a party. I can kind of see him just sitting there, watching, trying to figure out how to blend in.
However, there was one aspect of youth culture that Breivik did excel at, one which demonstrated his ability to prepare and execute a plan in extreme detail.
He would also try to establish, a reputation as a graffiti artist. So he was apparently, according to the people who knew him at the time, planning his graffiti raids like a general, extremely good with the logistics, getting the number of cans and planning his missions.
He was definitely searching to get some recognition, to be someone.
As it happened all the time with him, he worked very hard for recognition, but he ended up being rejected by these people.
Breivik certainly made reference to being isolated when he was younger and in his teens, but he's also showed adept skills at belonging when he needed to. So although he postures himself as being the outsider's outsider, as a narcissist he's also very capable of working on the inside when he needs to.
Such capabilities would prove crucial in carrying out the second stage of a killing spree that has already seen 8 dead.
Noe senere så fikk vi melding om at gjerningsmannen...
Say what? Let's watch this here. The 2011 Norway attacks.
In life, you win some, then you lose some.
We were standing in a circle, and we started hearing.
Let's have a read, because when you got to be careful that you're not using material that you're not supposed. That's not supposed. On July 22nd, 2011, whilst talking as a peaceful summer camp for teenagers on Norway's Utøya Island turns into a scene of unimaginable terror. In a horrific attack that shocked the world, a far-right extremist, Anders Breivik, unleashed a brutal attack systematically shooting young people gathered for a particular political youth league event. This film takes you back to that devastating day through the eyes of a courageous survivor.